This week's best MMA bets, we're talking UFC Vegas 61 and Bellator 286. We're going to talk about locks, dogs, props, and the parlays for both of these cards. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe to the channel, turn those post notifications on, and make sure to share the video as well. Let's get into the lock section. We're going to start it off with the UFC locks. Now, this is an interesting UFC card, locks-wise. I think there's a lot of extremely competitive matchups, but these are the locks that I'm feeling now. Lock number one, the line is atrocious. It's Sodiq Yusuff at minus 877. It's not one to really get excited about, unfortunately, but ultimately, I think Yusuff is a lock for the win. I'm thinking he gets it done inside of the distance. KO TKO, it's minus 200. It's essentially a no-play situation with this bet, but Sodiq Yusuff should dominate Don Shainis and finish him in a round. But he's a huge favorite, minus 877. There's really no love for that line. So the first lock is essentially a no play. Now, the next of the locks, it doesn't get much better, but it's honestly, you know what? It's much better than the previous, but it's not like great line. It's Randy Costa at minus 280. I like Randy Costa over Guido Canetti. I think Costa could get a stoppage victory in this fight. Looking at the Costa KO TKO, minus 175. Atrocious line. You're probably not playing it, but Randy Costa money line wouldn't be awful if you're going hard at it. Definitely a parlay piece. We're talking parlays at the end. We're concocting the Bellator UFC crossplay, which honestly is necessary this week, so make sure you stay tuned for the parlay section. The next of the locks, for me, I'm going to call it the most quality lock, and it is a lock that I'm very confident in. I really sat on this matchup and dug deep, and I feel like Krzysztof Jutko is actually an excellent money line play to beat Brendan Allen. Of the three, this is my absolute favorite. He's minus 120 as the favorite. Brendan Allen sitting at plus 111. I think Jutko wins by decision. It's plus 110 for that. You're not getting great lines with the prop. You're getting a solid line with straight money line. I think the best way to attack it is a money line play. I don't necessarily think it's worth it to just go Jutko plus 110 decision. What if he somehow got a finish? Yeah, he's most likely winning a decision. He's a decisionator. But ultimately, at minus 120, I'd rather go for the money line side. I think Jutko beats Brendan Allen here, and I think he looks pretty good doing it. I think he can match him in the grappling department, especially defensively and striking. I think Jotko's got the better kickboxing. He's a more technical guy, whereas Allen is more of the athlete. Now, as you look through this UFC card, I think you're, in a little bit of risky territory with some of the plays. Sure, you can throw down on some close money bets, but I'm not going to include picks that I'm not feeling are true locks in the lock section, which is why I haven't even added Mackenzie Dern, main event, who I am picking to win, but she's fighting a game dog in Yan Xiaonan. I am going to jump to the Bellator side. Now, Bellator locks, guys, something to be excited about. Let's talk Bellator. The locks for Bellator. Now, there are a really ugly few, but ultimately there's actually some great lines as well. Lock number one for Bellator is Weber Almeida at minus 280. Listen, minus 280 in Bellator is fantastic. Ryan Lilly's opponent is clearly outmatched. He's plus 250 as the dog. Now, Almeida, we don't have the full list of props, unfortunately. It is what it is. The Hurricane Ian is coming, so I got to get this video dropped just in case I'm not going to be able to upload it later. Ultimately, I think Weber Almeida, I would pick him to win via KO TKO. I think that's how he does it. He's minus 300 around for the money line. If you look towards best fight odds, they might have some props listed. They don't. We just had props for a second, and they disappeared on us. It is what it is. Fight odds is hiding them from us. They're hiding them. They have them, but they're hiding us from. They're hiding them. I don't know why they did that. Last second, you guys just saw the odds on screen. Now they're back. Good. Weber Almeida to win KO TKO is got to be around plus 125. For inside distance is plus 105. I think he gets the KO TKO. He's an extreme confidence pick, guys. Like, that's a play that you're definitely going to see on the parlays. I'm so excited for the parlay section because this week's crossplay, I'm feeling very good about. Now, Bobby Cerrone, another lock. He's minus 600. It's a terrible line. I understand that. It's an awful line. It's not a line that most of you are going to play. I think Cerrone probably does get it done by decision. I really feel like Pembert is pretty game. It would be better for his career if he ends up getting a finish, but decision is more likely here. Win, Cerrone, decision, -110. It's a lot better than playing -600. Extremely wide line. Of course, you're going to see ugly lines in Bellator. It's how it goes. Even this week in the UFC, we got some hideous lines. The next lock, Sumuko Inaba. Yes, I know the excitement on these few is not there, but trust me, more excitement's coming. -725, Inaba. Huge favorite. She should win. I think method of victory, honestly, it's a little cloudy for the fact that her opponent is pretty damn tough. I feel like the Inaba betting side, maybe you're going for Inaba to win inside of the distance. That's -160. I wait for more props to drop. Maybe you lean at that knockout side. Maybe you lean at that slub side. Ultimately, for me, Nadine could go the full 3. She has a terrible record, but she's a game fighter. But you're not playing Inaba money line. This is better fights to bet on, but it is a lock. And I don't know what's going on with the Fight Odds website. It's kind of going up and down. So if you see me reloading the screen, I apologize. Just bear with me on that one because they're removing and bringing the props in and out every couple of seconds. Now, the next of the Bellator locks, it's an ugly one. It's going to be the final of the true hideous ones, I guess you could say. But Lance Gibson, high confidence pick. He should win. And I think Lance Gibson is going to look fairly impressive here. I mean, he should go out there and put on a pretty damn good performance against a guy who, in my opinion, is clearly outmatched in Dominic Clark. The inside of the distance play would be your smart money here for Gibson, and it's -105. I think he breaks Dominic Clark. -105 is actually an excellent tag. I would bet inside of the distance because I think he can get the TKO. I'm picking submission, but it's definitely possible his opponent covers up and then ground and pound from Gibson. Money line, -485. You're not touching, but bear with me because the excitement of the quality lines are coming up. The next one, I feel like, is when, you know, the lines start coming back to reality here. It's Keone Diggs over Ricardo Ciexas. I think that Diggs is going to look excellent in this matchup. He's a big favorite at -345. For him to win inside of the distance is +120. I assume the KO could be upwards of +140, +150. I'm going to predict that he could definitely get the KO, but inside distance would be a safer play because Diggs has a really good submission game, and he could break Ciexas on the feet and then look to submit him. +120 inside of the distance. Money line, -345. Listen, -345 in Bellator might as well be -175 in the UFC. That's not a terrible line, especially for these Bellator prelims. Now, the next of the Bellator locks, this one is a must-win situation for Khalid Muratsalia. He's -325 over Kazarmat Bestev. He should destroy him, and I think he will knock him out here. Bestev is known as a bit chinny. Muratsalia inside of the distance +105. If you're seeing plus money on a Muratsalia inside of the distance, to me, that is an excellent play. He's not a bad money line, but still kind of too wide that you're probably not going to want to attack it straight. Parlay edition, most definitely. Inside of the distance, plus money. Knockout prop will be even higher of the plus money. When it drops, I say you attack it. Now, the next of the Bellator locks, it's got to be Aaron Pico. I know he's -600. I know the line is terrible, but it's an Aaron Pico fight. You have to rep with the Pico, man. I do think he can get the KO over Jeremy Kennedy, though Kennedy is extremely game. Pico inside distance sitting around +105. The knockout prop will be a bit better. Not money lining it. You're not playing -549. But Aaron Pico should put work on Jeremy Kennedy. I think he's just the better fighter overall. I did the full card breakdown for Bellator. Make sure you guys check that out. And we went in depth on how the matchups are going to go. I think it's going to be the Aaron Pico show here against game Jeremy Kennedy, but he doesn't do anything spectacular, whereas Aaron Pico most certainly does. Now, we're getting lines that are going to get us maybe a little bit more excited now. Like this next line here, I feel like you guys will be hyped about. It's Juan Archuleta at -115 over Enrique Barzola. I'm extremely confident Archuleta wins. I will predict him to do it via decision. Line is near even. I mean, Archuleta at -105, he's near plus money. This is even Stevens. Win by decision for Archuleta, +190. I think that's a sneaky prop bet to potentially play here. If you look at the matchup too, I think Barzola is almost a worse version of Archuleta. Archuleta just does it all better. He's more athletic. He's got better striking. I think he's going to put work on Enrique Barzola. Now, the next and final of the Bellator locks, it's Richard Palencia at -270. He takes on CJ Hamilton. I think he should beat CJ Hamilton by a decision. Palencia is no finisher. He's not known for it. Palencia wins a decision, +110. The expected method of victory for me, and you are getting plus money for it. Palencia, though, definitely a confident pick because CJ Hamilton, a very good athlete, not a super technical fighter, and really struggles with the pressure style, Palencia shines there. Those are the locks for the UFC and Bellator. Let's talk some underdogs. We'll start it off with the UFC. If you guys haven't, make sure to smash that like button. Underdog City. We're going to talk some dogs that I do think have a fair shot of coming through, but you got to be very cautious with these UFC dogs. Now, dog number one, it's women's MMA, and it's a matchup between unproven Tabitha Ricci and an old Jessica Penne. I'm picking Penne at plus 185. I do see her winning the fight. I could see her winning a very sloppy split decision. Ultimately, the money line's plus 185. Fight goes distance, minus 225. I think going distance is super likely here. I think it's almost a sure thing these ladies go the full three. Penne to win via decision, plus 320 as well. Listen, I'm just not sold on Tabitha Ricci right now, and for that reason, I have to go with the OG and Jessica Penne, especially sitting at that plus money line as wide as it is. Next of the dogs for the UFC. This one might be a bit of a stretch, but I'm going Trevin Jones plus 196 to beat Hayani Barcelos minus 220. Barcelos, to me, looking a little bit aged. He's not the same Barcelos, and Trevin Jones tends to find openings. He's a guy that you can always count on to carry knockout power throughout. I think he can get the KO here. Jones wins KO TKO. It's a very long stretch, sure. A bit of a Hail Mary, absolutely, but plus 575 for it. It's worth mentioning, and I mean, you're getting plus 200 on Jones' money line as well. Not a bad straight dog attack, but we have to talk potentially that KO prop at plus 575. He could be the guy to sleep Barcelos. I see openings. I see potential punches landing. I don't know. Barcelos seems a step slow as he's in and out of range as opposed to how he looked a couple years back, and I think a guy like Trevin Jones can capitalize on it. Next of the underdogs. Listen, I'm a big Willie Cat fan. Daniel Santos plus 170. I think he's got a legit chance to knock John Castaneda out. Yeah, sure, I might be stretching a bit. People might say I am. Castaneda is fairly well-rounded, but Willie Cat just hasn't gotten the chance to really prove that ability. They threw him a technical savage and Julio Arce to start the UFC career. Castaneda doesn't have those technical abilities. Castaneda's best bet to win is heavy wrestling pressure. I think Santos can defend the wrestling. I think if you're looking at the Muay Thai, he's definitely the better striker of the two. Daniel Santos is dangerous on the feet, plus 170. I like Santos, Willie Cat to win by KO. That's upwards of plus 450. Castaneda was knocked out one time in the regional scene. Yes, it was an early stoppage, but he was clearly dropped. Willie Cat 100% has the finishing ability, the power to beat a John Castaneda by KO and be the first guy to stop him in the UFC. And I will say that he does it. We're going for Willie Cat, Daniel Santos, underdog. Now, the next underdog, this is not an official pick. I am picking Randy Brown, but plus 270, Francisco Trinaldo is an extremely good line, and Randy Brown has been chinned, even in his last fight. I mean, he did good against Chaos Williams not getting knocked out, but Williams only offers knockout power. Trinaldo maybe doesn't have the same pop as Chaos Williams, but he offers more threat in the grappling and in the clinch. He's an extremely physically strong guy. That being said, the pick is Brown, but the line is way too wide to look towards playing Randy Brown, in my opinion. It's a risky situation to go on Brown. The chin sometimes gets cracked. He's been knocked out a fair amount. Yes, Brown is way better than he once was, but he's still at risk of getting stopped here. So Trinaldo had to be mentioned as an underdog. If he was to win, I don't think it's likely, even though he could chin him plus 800 KO. I could see him taking a competitive decision and upsetting Randy Brown, who is the pick. We're going to talk Trinaldo decision plus 550 for that one. It's plus 270 money line. It's not my favorite attack, but one I have to mention here as far as matchups, because ultimately this UFC week is interesting in my opinion as far as betting on some of these fights. Now, main event, Dern versus Yan. The pick is Mackenzie Dern, but I have to mention Yan Xiaonan, and especially looking at live betting, because at plus 197, even live, she's still going to be a bit of a dog. We're going to find out how she defends takedown attempts. Dern is no wrestler. She's an extremely good jiu-jitsu practitioner. Her best bet is putting Yan Xiaonan in uncomfortable spots against the cage, looking towards grabbing the back there. Yan could pull the upset, plus 197. If I'm going Yan, I'd probably go money line on Yan Xiaonan. We'll see if she's ready for the 5 rounds against Dern. Though the official pick, Dern by submission. Have to mention it. I want to jump to Bellator and talk a couple of their underdogs. Dog 1, Mike Hamill over Max Roshkoff. Listen, guys, I can't bank on Roshkoff winning. He's an excellent athlete, excellent wrestler, but Mike Hamill's a good-ass wrestler, and he's gritty as hell. Roshkoff, listen, quitting in that fight in the UFC, to me, dropped a lot on the stock. If you see him break, it's possible to see him break again. It's plus 100 Hamill, extremely close money. Hamill to win inside distance, plus 375. That's not a bad line. Big plus money on Hamill. I think Roshkov gets stopped in the 3rd round by Hamill. There maybe even is a chance that Roshkov quits in the corner. I don't think that happens again, but I could see him getting tired and TKO late with Hamill just constantly coming back and fighting, constantly throwing punches, constantly fighting. He's proven tough as fuck. The next of the Bellator dogs that I'm feeling here, I think it's J.J. Wilson. Ultimately, is he even considered a dog? Kind of. He's even money essentially at -108, and Tokov is -112, so ever so slight underdog, but to me it's one worth mentioning because I do think he has a legitimate shot to pull this one out. I'm picking him to win. I'm confident that he gets it done. I think J.J. Wilson wins via decision against Tokov here. J.J. decision +240. That's a wide line for J.J. Wilson decision. Might be a little sniper prop to check out. Ultimately, some decent bets to be made. I do think it's going to be a bit of a favorite heavy card, but Bellator is known for shocking us on a regular basis. So be very cautious with your Bellator bets. Now, I want to look at some value bets and maybe some props. I'm going to jump towards the UFC to talk about value bet number 1, in my opinion. And it's going to be Mackenzie Dern to win via submission. I just think ultimately it's worth putting down, but it's not a good line. I thought it was at +120. It's at -120. Seeing it's at the minus here, Yan Xiaonan's extremely difficult to finish. It might not even be worth the touch now. I'm telling you, this is just like an ugly week of betting, in my opinion. -103 is best value for Dern wins by sub. I'm actually extremely disappointed seeing that line. I thought it was going to be way better. I thought it was going to be 1,000 times better. Well, another matchup I want to talk about, it's Joaquin Silva, Jesse Ronson. I really feel like the under in this fight could be a big hitter. It's -120 for that. I think maybe sniping that fight ends inside distance at -145, or the under 2.5 at -120 could be a good way to play it. Be intelligent, though. Don't go crazy with some of these props, but ultimately, I see this as a fight that gets finished. Like, I expect these guys to mix it up and throw down, but a finish ultimately. Now, I want to look at Ilir Latifi and Oleinik's line more just because I'm very curious with the Oleinik sub prop. It's +300. I don't think it's super good. I'm picking the win on the Latifi side by a grind-heavy decision. But can you ever doubt Oleinik in the grappling situations? Absolutely not. I have in the past, and it's bit me in the ass. +300, it's that Oleinik sub line. I have to mention it here. I think this fight ultimately a little bit risky if you're touching money lines. I could see dog attack for Oleinik, but the pick, straight up, I'll tell you guys, is going to be Ilir Latifi. Now, Maxime Grischard and Felipe Lins, I like the over in this fight. I think it's going over 2.5. It's -135 for that. I think that could be a decent over to play if you're looking to play one. Definitely one you could consider maybe even adding to the parlays if you're looking to sweat a bit to start the night off, because ultimately it's going to be a tough fight. This one here, Julia Stoliarenko, Chelsea Chandler. I have to mention Stoliarenko by sub every time that she fights because she brings that legitimate threat, especially from the guard. That armbar is sick. Submission, Stoliarenko +300. I actually think that's a great line. I thought it'd be lower than that. I'm thinking maybe it's +175, +150. Instead, Stoliarenko by sub is +300. I think she could definitely submit Chelsea Chandler in this fight. I'm picking Stoliarenko also to get that one as a W. It's not an easy matchup, though. She's fighting a real game girl. Now, Mike Davis, Vyacheslav Borics. I'm looking at this fight. I love Vyacheslav Borics, so we have to mention the KO prop for him. He definitely could catch Davis, especially later. +425, Borics KO TKO. Borics to win in the 3rd round. I think it is very live in the 3rd round by KO. +2,200. Could sprinkle 2nd and 3rd, +1,500. I think it's a lot less likely he finishes Mike Davis early. I could see Davis grinding with the wrestling heavy attack and winning a decision. Davis by decision is +205, but it don't have the excitement on it. Personally, I think there's better props to bet. I'd rather go shoot more towards the Hail Mary than go in Davis decision, though I do think Davis is winning by decision at +205, and I don't hate him as a money line bet either. I am fairly confident that he works towards a win, especially if he's mixing in the grappling, but I'm just concerned about him getting knocked out later in the fight. The gas tank could be something that I think could diminish on him. It could be a fleeting gas tank, and that leads to success for a really dangerous striker in Slava Claus, Vyacheslav Borics, that could touch him up 2nd, 3rd round, probably late 2nd or somewhere in the 3rd. Now, those are the props and value bets I kind of like for the UFC. I want to quickly just glance upon Bellator. Patricio Pitbull at -140 in the main event. I don't think is a bad idea to have Patricio Pitbull as a money line attack. I definitely do think he beats Adam Borics. It's a very competitive fight, though. I see him winning, but I also really respect the game of Borics, which is one of the reasons I didn't feel as Patricio could be included in the ultimate lock section, but ultimately, he's still a confident pick. AJ McKee. Another reason you don't want to include him, he's -400 range in spite Carlyle's game. Yes, I think AJ McKee most likely wins the bout. So we're going to also mention AJ McKee here. But Carlyle is game as fuck. I think Carlyle could surprise a lot of people and survive here. So I kind of want to look towards the fight going longer here. Fight goes distance +180. Listen, you're getting big plus money. Carlyle known as durable. Yes, AJ McKee is a specimen and a freak and could get the finish, but have to mention that +180 tag because ultimately you're not touching McKee money line. Maybe you're throwing down and banking on that fight going a little bit longer. Be cautious with these Bellator bets. Ultimately, I feel like that's kind of all I want to jump at as far as the Bellator value section. I think we covered pretty much everything with the locks and the dogs. Now, to finish out, I am going to jump to the parlays. If you guys haven't, smash the like button and let's create the ultimate cross parlay for the UFC and Bellator. We're going to bank on high confidence picks to start everything off. And we are going to start with the Bellator side to get us started. I'm going to grab some very confident Bellator picks, and then we'll mix them down with the UFC. Now, we're not going to go great value first. We're going to go more the wide favorites who I do think are high likely of winning. Palencia. So, Murtzalidze, Keone Diggs, Richard Palencia, and Weber Almeida, I think, are a great four that bring you to +206. So you're getting some quality plus money already just with that. If you wanted to add in some confident picks towards the UFC, I do think you could do it. I'd probably leave out Yusuf just simply for the fact that he's too wide. You add in Randy Costa, brings you to +300 range. Then you feel like, listen, I want to add a little more. Give me the ultimate potential, because I do think there is some pretty good potential with Krzysztof Jutko. It's risky-ish, but I do think close money winner. Like, I call him a lock here. Honestly, I'm very confident he wins at -120. Watching the tape, I'm just like, wow, he's technically better than a Brendan Allen. Lacks the athleticism, but technically he's got more skills than Allen. +658 for this, I would call somewhat of a wide, long shot play, but with very, 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 very confident picks. And some people will want to leave Jotko out. You still get great +313. That's not a bad line for plays that I really do think come through. Now, if you want to add some more spice to it, you want to throw Juan Archuleta in, you get +1346. At this point, you're turning it into the Hail Mary of the week. But you know what? Sometimes we got a Hail Mary. Add Patricio Pitbull, +2,379. You might not even be able to get this line at this fucking value. You might not be able to play this many, depending where you're at. Hopefully you can, because I like some of these long shots. I'm feeling like that over in the Grishon fight could end up being a sneaky prop to play of the week. We'll add that in, +4,000 for that Hail Mary. Ultimately, we're getting in crazy territory with this +4,000 range. But I don't think everything on this list happening is impossible. I actually think it's fairly likely. So if you're looking to cross over with Bellator and UFC, there's some parlays to play. If you told me, just listen, I want the safest line, I don't care about value at all right, I'll give you safety first. It'd be Yusuf. It would be Costa, which, I mean, I'm always a little concerned about Costa just because he's a bit hittable, but ultimately he should beat the 40-year-old for sure. Weber Almeida, +100. Almeida's a fantastic pick, man. It's extremely hard for me to see him losing. Or Keone Diggs, +158 for this four-fighter play. I think if you're going safety first, this could be the one right here. But ultimately, that takes the fun out of it. That's why we go a little bit more wild with the crazy-ass plays, and that's why I like that +4,000 tag that I really think could end up being a hitter. Be cautious with your bets for UFC and Bellator. Be smart with your parlays. You can go crazy and get a +4,000 line, but don't throw the fucking house on it. Play it smart. Have some fun. Guys, I am going to try my absolute best to continue dropping the full schedule of content as scheduled, but ultimately, you know, that Hurricane Ian's coming my way. So I don't know how the power situation is going to look like. I dropped this week's best MMA bets as quick as possible. Normally, I'd like to wait until I have a full list of props for Bellator, but unfortunately, I couldn't do that. I said, I got to get this shit out now, and here it is. I hope you guys enjoyed. Smash the hell out of the like button. If you're new, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of the picks, the locks, the dog, the props, the parlays. If you have any bets that maybe I didn't mention that you're feeling or some that you agree with me 100%, definitely let me know. If you don't have anything to say, but you want to, support the channel, boost that algorithm, drop a W in the comments to boost it. Much love, my people. If you're subscribed and your post notifications aren't on, make sure you turn those post notifications on and share the video too. Send it to a friend if you really enjoy the content. Much love, my people. Thank you all so much for the continued support, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everyone.